What's going on, guys? It's Brandon back, and welcome back to another NHL 22 video. Yes, you're staring at my whiteboard right now, and I'm not in front of it because I just want to explain this from the side of it. My face will not be in this video. So, as we did last time on NHL 22, we did the actual playoff teams bracket. So we had like the normal Colorado, Nashville, Calgary, Dallas, Edmonton, LA, Minnesota, St. Louis, etc. Now we have the loser side of it, as I call the loser bracket. So the way it's done is a bit odd because the way the teams have gone, it's not necessarily point-wise. For example, Winnipeg would be first in this division. Even though they'd be third, they would slot right in after Vancouver, but just the way it works. So basically Arizona wouldn't be the last seed, even though they were like last in the West. They would be playing Chicago like in a 2v3 format. Seattle is going to end up playing Vegas, etc. But we'll go over that once we look at the bracket. And then in the East, it's a lot easier because you have 4 teams, but also that it's similar to this, how Florida's playing Washington, Carolina's playing Boston, Islanders were playing Nashville since they were the worst. They were the best of the worst in the East, and Montreal was the worst. Philadelphia was second worst, so they'll be playing Buffalo, who was the leader, who was third best of the worst. But just go with it. It's kind of complicated to explain, but just imagine that it's like 2v3, 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 2v3. The number ones all play a wild card team, which in the West it's Anaheim and Seattle. In the East it's Philadelphia and Montreal. We're going to pause the video now, and then we're going to go and I'll bring this in front of the TV screen so you can see for yourself. Once more, guys, we're going to hop in front of the whiteboard as I quickly just made out a bracket out of this. So essentially, we have the West and the East. I have Winnipeg over Anaheim, Chicago over Arizona, Vegas over Seattle, and Vancouver over San Jose. In the East, I have Buffalo over Philadelphia, Detroit over Ottawa, Montreal over the Islanders, Blue Jackets over the Devils. This is partially based on what I think the NHL simulation will do mostly, because NHL simulations, for some ever reason, love Chicago, love Vancouver, love Columbus. And they're pretty big fans of Buffalo as well. And I would have went with Ottawa, but I feel like Detroit is just somehow going to pull it out. They're not really big fans of Vegas or the Islanders, for that matter, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, in the second round I have Chicago over Winnipeg, Vancouver over Vegas. I have Detroit over Buffalo, Columbus over Montreal, and then in the third round, Vancouver over Chicago, Columbus over Detroit, and then I have Vancouver over Columbus in the final. We shall see if this is the way it turns out. But anyway, now we will go back into the screen, to the TV screen. See you in a minute. Once again, guys, I apologize for my TV not being of the best quality, but here we are is the bracket. We have Winnipeg and Anaheim going at each other, Chicago and Arizona, the 2 expansion teams with Vegas and Seattle, and then both of the fish with Vancouver and San Jose. In the East, we have Columbus and New Jersey, Montreal and the Islanders, Ottawa and Detroit, Philadelphia and Buffalo. Let's get right into this. We'll do exactly like we did last time. We'll simulate the first game of each series, and then for the final, we'll simulate through every single game. So, let's do this. Started off, we have Anaheim and Winnipeg. Teams played each other in the 2015 first round, where Winnipeg was swept by Anaheim. But we shall see how this one goes. First period, 1-1 is Ryan Getzlaf and Nikolai Ehlers exchange goals. Anaheim with a 4-2 lead. Kyle Connor scores to make it 2-1, but then Troy Terry on the power play, Zegras and Fowler all scoring to give the Anaheim a 4-2 lead. And that's game as Anaheim takes game 1 from Winnipeg. And it could be considered a steal game 1 in Winnipeg as well. So yeah, moving on. Yeah, we have Vegas and Seattle. If I can get it down. Alright, first period. Mark Stone on the power play scores. Seattle with a 3-goal period. Vegas has Shea Theodore score, but Jordan Eberle, Matty Beniers, and Alex Wenberg score on Robin Leonard to give Seattle a 3-2 lead. And Seattle wins 5-3. Mark Stone scores again, but Victor Rask and Hayden Fleury with an empty netter gives Seattle another steal in Game 1. Both wild cards have proven to be quite good against these non-playoff teams. Now Philadelphia and Buffalo. Buffalo takes a 2-goal lead with Tage Thompson on the power play and Victor Olofsson. Still 2-0 after 2. And Buffalo shuts out Philadelphia with Kyle Oposo making it 3-0. Now for the final game, wild card game, before we get into 2v3 seeds. Montreal and the Islanders, here we go. Josh Bailey scores on Price, but Yoel Armia scores on Sorokin to make the game 1-1. Montreal scores, Nick Suzuki scores to make it 2-1. And then Montreal, Joel Edmondson with an empty netter, but before that, Mike Hoffman gives Montreal a 4-1 win, as three teams so far have upset their they've taken away home ice advantage in Game 1. Now that the 2v3 seeds, we have Chicago and Arizona. Alex DeBrincat scores to make it 1-0 for the Hawks. Then DeBrincat again scores to make it 2-0. And in the third, Phil Kessel on the power play makes it 2-1, but Jonathan Toews with an empty netter on the power play with 8 seconds to go gives the Hawks the 3-1 win in Game 1. I would love if the Hawks won Game 1, by the way. If you hear any sounds in the background, I'm mostly drinking. My voice is a little hoarse currently, and I'm trying to keep up with the liquids on a very hot day. Now, Vancouver and San Jose, a very interesting series. Marc-Edouard Vlasic and Scott Reedy make it 2-0 for San Jose. Wow. Bo Horvat responds on Reimer to make it 2-1. And Vancouver, Jason Dickinson and Niels Höglander makes it 3-2 for Vancouver as they complete the comeback win over San Jose in Game 1. Now, Ottawa and Detroit are definitely a very interesting series. In similar spots, I would say. Ottawa with Matthew Joseph scores on Nedeljkovic to make it 1-0. It's still 1-0 after 2. Tie game as Josh Norris ties the game after Dylan Larkin and Maurice Sider score about 21 seconds apart in the middle of the period. And we go to overtime where Ottawa, Travis Hamonic scores on Alex Nedeljkovic to take Game 1 in overtime. Travis Hamonic, wow, what an odd person to score. Now, final game of the first round that we will simulate in person. Columbus and New Jersey, here we go. Yegor Chikhanov scores for Columbus, but Dawson Mercer responds to make it 1-1. Thomas Tatar makes it 2-1 for New Jersey. And then Andreas Janssen. I've heard this guy's name pronounced a bunch, so my bad. Andreas Janssen scores a power play goal to give New Jersey a 3-1 win over Columbus. And now we shall simulate just the games one by one. Winnipeg ties up the series to make it 1-1. Seattle takes a 2-0 series lead on the top loser in the West. Or the top loser overall, I should say. Philadelphia ties the series at 1. And the Islanders also tie the series. Getting interesting now. Now to the second set of games. Arizona ties the series at 1. Vancouver takes a 2-0 series lead against San Jose. Detroit ties up the series against Ottawa. And Columbus ties up the series against New Jersey. Alex DeBrincat leading the playoffs in scoring. Good for him. Now, Game 3. Anaheim takes a 2-1 series lead on Winnipeg. Vegas steals Game 3 in Seattle to make it 2-1 and give them a chance. Buffalo takes a 2-1 series lead. Islanders take a 2-1 series lead. Arizona takes a 2-1 series lead on Chicago. Vancouver with a 3-0 series lead over San Jose. Ottawa with a 2-1 series lead. And New Jersey with a 2-1 series lead. Now moving on to Game 4. Winnipeg ties up the series. Vegas ties up the series. No team has won at home in that series so far. Philadelphia ties up the series. Islanders take a 3-1 series lead over Montreal. I have my bracket still in the background so you can see the top part of it, but I'm watching to see what I get right. Chicago ties up the series in Arizona. San Jose avoids the sweep as they win Game 4. Detroit ties up the series. And Columbus ties up the series. So we have 6 of the 8 series are tied up so far. Now Anaheim takes a 3-2 series lead over Winnipeg. Vegas takes a 3-2 series lead over Seattle as they come back. Buffalo with a 3-2 series lead. And the Islanders become the first team to win a series as they beat Montreal in 5 games. I had Montreal winning that series, so that's going to affect my bracket. I had them losing in the second round to Columbus, so we'll see how this goes. Where did that go? Oh, Chicago takes a 3-2 series lead. San Jose wins Game 5 and are forcing a Game 6. Wow. Detroit takes a 3-2 series lead. And New Jersey takes a 3-2 series lead. Now Game 6. Anaheim upsets Winnipeg in round 1, sending them home. Vegas takes out Seattle in 6 after being down 2-0. Philadelphia forces a Game 7 against Buffalo. Chicago defeats Arizona in 6 games. San Jose forces a Game 7 against Vancouver. If this happened, I'm pretty sure the hockey guy would lose his will to live at this point for the Canucks. However, it's not over yet. We'll see if the reverse sweep has been completed. Detroit takes out Ottawa in 6. Columbus forces a Game 7. Buffalo wins the series in 7 over Philadelphia. Vancouver avoids the reverse sweep as they win Game 7 against the San Jose Sharks. Last game of the first round, New Jersey in 7 as my loser in the final is out of the playoffs. In the East, I had half my teams right, I believe. Buffalo and Detroit, I got right. Islanders and New Jersey, I got wrong. In the West, I got 3 of the teams right as I only had Winnipeg beating Anaheim. Now, moving on. Oh, wait, we're going to simulate Game 1 as we do. So, Chicago and Anaheim. These teams have faced each other in 2015 as well, only in the conference final. Seth Jones scores to give the Hawks a 1-0 lead. Kevin Shattenkirk, 2 defensemen score as a power play goal for Anaheim. Sam Carrick scores on Lankinen, but then Kubalik responds on the power play to make it 2-2 as we go to overtime. And Troy Terry on the power play in overtime gives Anaheim Game 1 over Chicago. Now, Vancouver and Vegas, these teams played each other in 2020. Vegas won that series in 7 after being up 3-1, so let's see what happens here. Max Pacioretty scores early, but Brock Besser with a pair of goals, 1 on the power play to give the Canucks a 2-1 lead. Mark Stone scores on Demko to make it 2-2. In Vegas, Alec Martinez gives Vegas a 3-2 win over Vancouver in Game 1. Buffalo and Detroit, a series I could see in the near future happening if some of the good teams like Tampa and Toronto and Pittsburgh and Washington fall out. No score in the first. Detroit, Pius Suter, the former Hawk, and Lucas Raymond, the rookie, score on Craig Anderson to make it 2-0 for Detroit. And Philip Hronik gives Detroit a 3-0 shutout in Game 1 over Buffalo. Now finally, New Jersey and the Islanders. Damian Severson on the power play scores to make it 1-0. PK Subban scores to make it 2-0, 2 defensemen. Islanders tie it up is with Anders Lee on the power play and Brock Nelson with 1:13 to go forcing overtime. And Cal Clutterbuck in overtime scores to give the Islanders Game 1. Great comeback for the Islanders. Now Game 2 we're just going to simulate. Chicago ties up the series. Vancouver ties up the series. Detroit takes a 2-0 lead over Buffalo. And New Jersey ties up the series. In Game 3, Anaheim takes a 2-1 series lead. Vegas takes a 2-1 series lead. Buffalo wins Game 3 as they now are down 2-1 to Detroit. And Islanders take a 2-1 series lead. Game 4. Chicago ties up the series. This is going exactly how the real series did in 2015. Vegas 3-1 series lead over Vancouver. This happened in 2020 as well. We'll see if they can. Vancouver forces a Game 7. Buffalo ties up the series with Detroit. And New Jersey ties up the series with the Islanders. Game 5. Anaheim wins Game 5, so the first 5 games have played out exactly as the original series has in 2015. Vancouver forces a Game 6. Buffalo takes a 3-2 series lead. And the Islanders take a 3-2 series lead as all these series go into Game 6. Anaheim wins the series in 6 and knock out Chicago. Vancouver forces a Game 7 just like 2020. Detroit forces a Game 7. And New Jersey forces a Game 7. Now, let's see. Vancouver comes back from 3-1 down on Vegas, and unlike 2020, are able to come back and win and go to the conference final. Detroit comes back over Buffalo and goes to the conference final. And the Islanders over New Jersey go to the conference final. So now let's see. We have Vancouver over. I had Vancouver over Vegas. I had Chicago over Winnipeg, so that one's done. So 1/4 of my bracket is done on the West. Half of my bracket on the West is done. Vancouver going to the final is my prediction. So I'm happy I'm getting that right at least. Then in the East, I had Buffalo going out. Already had 1/4 of the side done, so half the East is gone. I had Detroit in the conference final, however, I had them losing to Columbus, so let's see what happens here. Simulate Game 1 for each series like as usual. Sam Milano and Bo Horvat make it 1-1. Tanner Pearson scores on the power play, but Isaac Lundstrom and Ryan Getzlaf scores on the power play to make it 3-2 for Anaheim. And Anaheim wins 6-4 as Vasily Podkolzin scores for Vancouver, followed by Trevor Zegras of Anaheim, followed by Alex Chason of Vancouver, but then Schuster and Silverberg scored to give Anaheim the 6-4 win. Then for the East, Islanders and Detroit. Detroit with a 2-1 lead as Pajot scores first on the power play, but Lucas Raymond and Dylan Larkin score to give Detroit a 2-1 lead. Islanders tie it with Bellows scoring. And Detroit wins Game 1 as Sundqvist and Raymond score on the power play, and then Pollock tries to make it within 1, but Detroit comes out with the win 4-3. Now we simulate to the final. Game 2, Vancouver ties it up. Game 2 for that one series, Detroit 2-0 over Islanders. Anaheim 2-1 over Vancouver. Detroit 2-1 over the Islanders. Anaheim 3-1 over Vancouver. Detroit 3-1 over the Islanders. Anaheim finishes off Vancouver in 5. The Islanders force a Game 6. The Detroit wins the series in 6. So Detroit versus Anaheim in the Stanley Cup Final. Last time these two teams met, I believe, was the 2009 second round. Actually, no, the 2013 first round, where Detroit, the 7th seed, knocked out Anaheim, who was the 2nd seed, in 7 games. Before that, the Ducks were the 8th seed going up against the... Actually, no, they were the 7th. I don't remember. Yeah, they were the 8th seed going up against the 2nd seed in Red Wings in the second round, and Detroit beat them in 7. And then in 2007, on Anaheim's route to the final, in the conference final, these teams met, and Anaheim won that series in 6. This team has played each other a lot in the playoffs, never in the finals. Detroit used to be in the West, but let's see how this series goes. Game 1. I neither had none of these teams in the final. I had Detroit out in the conference final, and I had Anaheim out in the first round. So, unfortunate for me, Zegras scores to make it 1-0 for Anaheim. Jakub Vrana ties it, but Kevin Shattenkirk scores a shorthanded goal. Anaheim with a dominating win in Game 1 as Adam Henrique on the power play, Derek Grant, and Jakob Silfverberg make it 5-1 for Anaheim. Going into Game 2, Troy Terry and Dylan Larkin battling it out for the leading point scorer. 0-0. Detroit takes a 2-1 lead. Adam Henrique makes it 1-0 for the Ducks, but Sundqvist and Sedina make it 2-1 for Detroit. Lucas Raymond makes it 3-1 for Detroit, as the series is split in Detroit, as the series transfers to Anaheim, as Detroit was the second seed in one of the second seeds, and Anaheim was a wild card, so Anaheim will host the second. Game 3 in Anaheim. 0-0 after 1. Adam Henrique makes it 1-0 after 2. In a shutout, as Kevin Shattenkirk, Terry on the power play, and Silfverberg with an empty netter make it a 4-0 win for Anaheim as they take a 2-1 series lead in the final. Game 4 in Anaheim. Lindstrom scores to make it 1-0 for Detroit before Schuster responds for Anaheim, but Michael Rasmussen scores to make it 2-1 for Detroit in the waning minute of the first. Fowler makes it 2-2, but Sider and Raymond on the power play score to make it 4-2 before Zegras makes it within the final minute of the second. And there are no goals scored in the third as Detroit ties the series up and now has home ice advantage in Game 5. Philip Pronik on the power play makes it 1-0 for Detroit in the first. Anaheim with Derek Grant and Isaac Lundstrom making it 2-1, but before Tyler Bertuzzi ties it at 2, but then Schuster again scores. Schuster's having a heck of a playoff, I will say. I don't think I've ever seen him score a goal, and here he is scoring goals every single game of the final. And going into the third, Anaheim wins it. Sammy Milano makes it 4-2 as they have a chance to clinch the cup on home ice in Game 6. Here we go. Adam Henrique gets the building rocking as he scores to make it 1-0 Anaheim. Max Jones makes it 2-0 Anaheim. And going into the third, Philip Zadina scores with 2 minutes and 5 seconds left to make it 2-1, but that's not enough as Anaheim wins the losers bracket and gets the Stanley Cup of the losers bracket. Troy Terry with a fantastic playoff. 24 points in 23 games. And that is most likely your Conn Smythe winner. But Raymond and Larkin also had 24 points, and Zegras had 23. Barzal had 19 points in 18 games. Lee had 18 points. So yeah, it was really Zegras and Terry running the show for Anaheim, and then Raymond and Larkin running the show for Detroit. Tyler Bertuzzi with 17 points. Getzlaf with 18 as he retires at 37. Hronik with 17 points. And how do the goalies tend to do? Josh Gibson could be your Conn Smythe winner with a .936 save percentage and a .193 goals against average. I think that might be your Conn Smythe winner, guys, right there. Nedeljkovic has a .909 with a .293 goals against. It's not great, but Thatcher Demko 9-10 with a .921, not bad. Robin Leonard 7 and actually 9 because these are two. The shootouts count as overtime losses, so. Some pretty interesting stats here. Were there any goalie switches within there? Halak came in, so you can see right here, like, if goalies came in during, like, a wipeout. Sermian Varlamov's getting a 100% save percentage. Very nice. But yeah, that's going to be all for this one. Anaheim is your Stanley Cup champions of the losers bracket. I want to thank you guys for watching, and I shall see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.